Hi, I'm Kira. Welcome to Deep Stretch, Yoga for Flexibility. We're going to go deep today, so buckle up. Just kidding. But really, these poses we're going to hold for about 3 to 5 minutes. So you can think of each of these shapes as a mini meditation, an opportunity to connect with your mind, body, and breath. I'm going to guide you through it. So today we're aiming in this deep stretch class to go deeper than just stretching muscle, to the deepest layers of us, which is our connective tissue. Connective tissue wraps around all of your muscles, your bones, your joints. It's sort of this web or this matrix that supports our whole system. And it's a very plastic tissue and a dense tissue, meaning like muscles elastic, connective tissue is plastic. Takes a lot more time to lengthen and stretch. So I want you to support yourself today with all the props you got. Get your yoga blocks, get your pillow or your bolster if you have one, and a folded blanket and a towel, because we'll set up a very nice support in each one of these shapes. Thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe to the channel to be a part of this community and what's coming next. And leave me a comment, leave me a message. Let me know what you enjoyed about this class, what you'd like to see more of. I'll see you on the mat. Okay, deep stretch. Let's get into it. Fred, you're gonna have to move so I can guide these people through this class. Can you move, please? Thank you. Okay. So we're gonna begin in child's pose, and we'll be living there for about 3 minutes. So I really want you to set yourself up so you feel supported and you feel comfortable there. If you wanna lay on a bolster, you can, or rest your head on a block. But meet me in child's pose. Settle in. If you have any issues in your knees, you might want the knees a little closer together in this position. If you want a little more hip opening, knees wider apart. So settling into this child's pose. Take a deep full breath in through your nose. Smooth breath out through the nose. Again, smooth breath in as if sipping it from the tip of your tailbone all the way up to the crown of your head, and smooth breath out. To deepen our breath, we're going to breathe on a 3 count. I'll guide you through that. We'll do a few rounds. So inhale for 1, 2, 3, exhale 3, 2, 1, inhale 1, 2, 3, exhale 3, 2, 1, inhale 1, 2, 3, exhale 3, 2, 1. Just keep this going on your own. A few more cycles. And then the next time you breathe out, let go of the counting. Let your breath return to normal. So in this deep stretch class, we're going to work in the style of yin yoga, holding these poses for 3 to 5 minutes. So we're going to be hanging out with our mind. So I'd like you to just bring your awareness to your mind, to that space between your eyebrows. The yogis call it the chittakash, which means mind space. And just observe the mood of your mind, knowing that whatever it is, you can show up as you are always to your yoga practice. And this practice invites us to move more from the doer, the active doer, and step into the observer. So just observing the mood of your mind. And then scanning your awareness around your body. Just observe the state of your physical body. Any areas that are asking for your attention in your practice today. Notice where you feel the breath moving with ease in your body. And where the breath feels it's a little bit stopped in its path. Deep stretch, yin yoga is a method for making space, clearing stuck energy, stuck tension in the body, and just allowing for a more spacious, easeful flow of breath. From here, let's slowly make our way to hands and knees. Tabletop position. And in yin, it's all about taking care of your body, giving yourself the support you need. So if you need to pad up your knees with a blanket, might want to get that situation in order now. And let's find some hip circles to start. So circle your hips around to the right. Get your breath flowing through, and then reverse the direction of the circles. So when we hold these poses for a long time, working in that yin way, we want to counter that with yang, which is the more active opposite to the stillness of yin. So every time we come out of these holds, we'll find a counter pose to move that energy through our system. Let's move into cat and cow here. Wake up our spine a little bit. So stack your shoulders over your palms, hips over the knees, and inhale, drop the belly down, gaze up for cow. Exhale, round your spine for cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. A few more cycles on your own. Breathing deeply in and out through your nose. And then make your way to downward facing dog, lifting the hips up and back. Normally we don't warm up in yin, we just get straight to it. But I want to give you a chance to, diagnose what's going on in your body, in your nervous system, before we enter these longer holds. So we'll just do a few more shapes to warm up. Lift your right leg as high as it wants to go, and then smooth step forward, right foot to the right thumb for runner's lunge. So keep your back knee lifted. And you could be on your fingertips, your hands could be on blocks if that's more comfortable. We'll come into a runner's twist. So you'll reach your right arm up. If you need to support left hand with a block, do it. And then some movement here. You're going to drop your back knee down, reach back, take an inhale. Exhale, float your knee up. A few more cycles. Knee lowers, knee lifts. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Kind of flossing your hip flexor, getting the hips warm and open for what lies ahead. Good. And then we'll switch sides. So bring both hands down to the mat. Let's step back through down dog and switch. So lift your left leg high. Big step forward, left foot to left thumb, runner's lunge. Maybe supporting hands with blocks if that would make this more easeful. Runner's twist. Lift your left arm up. Inhale, lower your back knee, reach back. Exhale, float it up. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Two more. So using breath to lengthen the tissues and move tension out of the body. Let's come back to downward facing dog. Take a few more pedals through your legs, maybe fluttering your lips. It's a great way to release tension from your face and your jaw. And then lower down to your knees. Okay, So we're gonna head into our first posture now called dragons. So this is a variation of low lunge. In yin, everything has a different name. The idea being that that sort of shifts your associations with the pose from yoga to something new. So we'll start on the right leg. So step your right leg forward. And in this low lunge, pat up your back knee if you need. We are going to hold this low lunge for 4 minutes. So I'm going to mind the time. And I'm going to give you different variations of this to progress to if you want. Or you could just stay in the low lunge. So set yourself up in the beginning with maybe more support than you need. Perhaps blocks under your hands. Don't worry about the knees stacking over the ankle. Just find an expression of this that feels like you, feels pretty good in your body. Our aim with this is to stretch the hip flexor of that back leg. So we're going to be in this for 2 minutes. I am watching the time. And when we work in this deep stretch way, we don't want to be feeling the stretch to our max. If our dial of sensation is a scale of 1 to 10, we want to maybe be at like a 5 or a 6. Okay, a place we can breathe and stay with ourselves, even in the face of feeling some stuff. So we're about 30 seconds in. Begin to check in with your breath here. You could close your eyes if that helps you drop in a little deeper. Connect to your inner environment. Deep belly breaths. So we're about 1 minute into this lunge. Option to stay here. If you did want to bring your hands to your front thigh and press yourself upright, it'll give you a little bit of a deeper hip flexor stretch and start to introduce a bit of a back bend here. So dragons are one of the more challenging postures in yin. I kind of just threw you in the deep end. So just know that these postures and working in this way is meant to be a little bit confronting. So if you're like, whew, I'm feeling a lot here, or this is not relaxing, that's okay. Remember, you're the observer now. So your work is to just keep noticing what you're experiencing and just meeting yourself where you are. So breathing through whatever's going on. So now we've been here 2 minutes. We're halfway through this journey. So you can stay in this version of the shape. You can come back to hands down, or you can come along with me to lizard lunge. So this is going to access more of the inner thigh adductor groin area. So for lizard, you're going to heel toe your right foot to the edge of your yoga mat. And then you might roll to the outer blade of your front foot. And that'll really get into that tissue of the groin and the inner thigh. And you can just stay here, or you might bring your forearms down to your mat, to your bolster, to your blocks. Okay, but just remember, we're aiming for 5 or 6, not an 11 on that scale. Optional addition of a quad stretch here by lifting your back foot and backstroking your right hand back to catch the foot. So now we're deep in the quad if you've come along with this version of the stretch. By the way, you never have to come along, okay? Staying in one shape for 4 minutes is still going to do a lot for you. So find a steadiness and a calmness to your breath to help rinse and wash tension out of the muscles. Anything that's stuck or held. We're working with some of the largest muscle groups in the body here, the quads, the hips. So breathe on through, just 10 more seconds in this. Good. So option to stay in whatever you're in, or I'll offer the final variation of dragon, which is dragon splits. So you'll release that foot grab if you have it, come onto your hands, and heel toe your front foot back to the center of your mat. And we'll come into a split. Ooh, my hip flexor is going through some stuff. So I like to use blocks under my hands here. You'll shift your hips back to your heels if you're taking your splits. Lengthen your front leg any amount. And you could keep a little bend in the front knee if necessary. And some of you may go for that full split, sliding your foot forward. I'm not going to come into that version. I feel like this is a good place for me to be today. So we've got about 40 more seconds in this hold. Staying observant of the Chittakash, the mind space. The mind, especially in the beginning of the yin practice, can be very chatty, have a lot of opinions, a lot of impatience. So if any of that's present, just observe it, say, hi, I see you. And guide your focus back to the present moment just by noticing new sensations. Try to name the sensations you experience or visualize them. Nice work, everybody. That is 4 minutes in your dragon. You did it. Slowly and gently, we're going to come back to all fours from whatever version of this you were in and take some hip circles. So yin is a practice of opposites, of finding balance between yin and yang, light and dark, sun and moon. The contrast, the opposites are at the center of that practice. So we counter that yin movement, that long, deep hold, with some lighter, more active movement. All right, dragons on the left. We got to find balance here, friends. So we'll begin with low lunge, aka dragon. So step your left foot forward, set yourself up. We're just going to be in our low lunge for the first 2 minutes of the pose, making friends with the dragon. So back toes can be tucked or not. Pat up the back knee if you need. And think of slightly tilting your tailbone under to lengthen your right hip flexor a bit more. Maybe you close your eyes. Just feel what you feel, especially when we're working with the hips. There's going to be a lot of asymmetry. So it might be a very different story on one side compared to the other. I don't know if y'all can hear the pitter-patter of the rain in the background, but we've had so many straight days of rain in New York City. Part of what inspired me to do a yin class. Good time to go inward and cleanse. So hopefully some of that cleansing is reaching you wherever you are. Okay, we're more than 1 minute through. Option to hold it, or maybe bring the hands to the front thigh. Bit of a more active dragon. Getting some back bend action. About 30 more seconds in this version of the shape. So even in a more confronting, demanding posture, so to speak, keep asking yourself, where can I soften? Can I relax my face? Can I relax my jaw? Just soften into the effort. That's the yin way. Yin is all about receptivity, surrender. All right, time to move on to our lizard variation if you want to take that, or you stay in low lunge. For lizard, you heel toe your left foot to the edge of the mat. Maybe you roll to the outer blade of the foot to access the groin adductor area, and then come down, or don't. Find the version of this that works for you. Yin is a very individualized, intimate practice. Really a way to show yourself some deep care and attention. If you took the quad stretch version of this on that first side, you'll come into that again, lifting the back toes, backstroking the left hand back to catch the foot. Uh-oh, now my watch is behind me. I can't keep track of time. It's okay. I'm just going to intuit the time. I know we have about 1 more minute in the pose. So you could stay here if this is feeling good, or move into the split variation. If you're going to come into splits, you heel toe that front foot back to the center. Maybe using blocks as you shift your hips back towards your heel and lengthen your front leg for your split or half split. If you're in the split, feel an energetic pull of your chest towards your front foot. Your left femur bone pulling back into the hip socket. Breathing deep. 10 more seconds here. Very nice, yogis. We let this go. Meet me back on all fours. Find some hip circles or cat and cow or even a down dog, whatever helps you move the energy through. Notice any effects on your system. Often when I come out of a long hip hold like that, I feel some heat in the lower body. Yeah, sensation of warmth. So notice what that feels like for you. Good. And then we'll come into our next posture, sleeping swan. You may know this pose in yoga as pigeon. Again, in yin, everything has a different name, so we can approach it with a new association, a softer association. What's more graceful than a sleeping swan? So we'll start with our right leg. So if you have any knee issues, you prefer to take a figure 4 pose, you're welcome to do that instead. That's on your back, or you'd cross your right ankle over your left thigh. If you want to come into sleeping swan, bring your right knee to the outside of your right wrist. So front thigh is externally rotated. And then just notice if you're leaning a lot to the right, pull your body back to the center of your mat and just peek over your left shoulder and make sure your left leg is directly behind your hip. Okay, so first we're gonna explore the yang version of this swan. So you'll plant your hands down or put them under blocks, tuck your back toes, and lift your chest. Probably some deep stretch in that back hip flexor. We're in a back bend, right? So stretching the front body, toning the spine. And when you're ready, you'll fold forward and come into sleeping swan. So you might lay your chest over your pillow or your bolster. We'll be in this shape for 5 minutes. Yeah, we're going to be here for a little while. So that first minute is just about arriving in the posture, assessing if there's anything you need, maybe wedging a block or a blanket under your right glute if you feel you could use some support there, seeking that number 5 or 6 on your dial of sensation. And once you settle, find stillness. Guide your awareness back to your breath. See if you can experience your breath in your back. You might even imagine your lungs in your rib cage and visualize them expanding on your inhale, contracting on your exhale. Just watching the lungs breathing you. Transitioning from that doer, that active person to the observer, witnessing the incredible systems of your body. So you've got 3 more minutes in the pose. You may find as you hold these postures for longer that you can take away some support. Absolutely not necessary, but you might experiment with taking away the bolster, seeing if you're able to go a little deeper, but keep the breath easeful. If you find the mind is still quite active, you might ground it with a mantra. One that I really like when I'm working in the hips is so simple. It's just as you inhale, mentally repeat the thought, let. As you exhale, mentally repeat the thought, go. Inhale, let. Exhale, go. Like a meditation, just repeating that thought with breath. So you've got 1 more minute in the posture. As we move through the class, I'll talk less and less to allow you the silence and the space to observe any impressions that are floating to the surface as you experience your practice. Really good, yogis. So very slowly, very gently, we're going to make our way out of the shape. Come back to downward facing dog as a counter pose. So make your way there and take some pedals through your legs. If you notice your hips, your joints feel a little fragile after a long hold, that's totally normal. That usually dissipates as you move and breathe and release that long hold. All right, come back down to your knees. We'll come into sleeping swan on the second side. So bring your left knee behind your left wrist, a little bit to the outside of left wrist. We'll take swan to start. So peek over right shoulder. Make sure that right leg is right behind the hip. Often things are not where we think they are when they are behind us. And then ground your hands or support them with blocks. Pull chest forward, swan. This is actually the deeper version of the hip flexor stretch in the posture. So marinating for a little while in this yang expression of sleeping swan. And then we melt into the yin, folding forward. 5 minutes here. So set yourself up for success. Again, you might need different things on this left side. You've been in this pose before, but not on this side. So allow yourself the space and the grace to figure out what you need over here. There should never be any pain in any of these postures. There might be intensity, but pain is an indication that it's time to adjust. So feel free to adjust until you've arrived at a place you can be still and sit with yourself and everything that comes up. As you settle into the pose, keep tracking those deeper layers. Often we focus on the area that's being stretched in an obvious way, not realizing that other areas are gripping. So some common areas that grip in a hip opener, the jaw, try to soften that. The brow, let it be soft and relaxed. Shoulders, relaxed and released. And if you do happen to be looking at me, I'm propping myself up a little bit for clarity of audio. But just know you should be laying over your bolster, completely released, head down in the posture. More than halfway through this hold, doing great. So a very cool fact about this yin yoga method, it has its roots in Chinese Taoist yoga. So over 2,000 years ago, these Taoist priests would teach this method of holding stretches for a long period of time, along with breath work, to Kung Fu practitioners, to not only help them improve their mobility and their flexibility in their art, their martial art, but also to build a strong and flexible mind. They understood that the pathway to that was through the body. So one more minute here, just you and your mind hanging out in your sleeping swan. If the mind is active, you may call back in that mantra: inhale, let, exhale, go. Or just observe, kind of floating in whatever impressions the mind serves up. Awesome job, yogis. That's 5 minutes. Slowly and gently make your way back to downward facing dog, your counter pose. And move around there. Pigeon is a deep constriction, cutting off blood flow in the hip for a little while. And the advantage of that is once we let it go, it bathes all of our joints and our connective tissue in fresh blood, oxygenated blood. So we got to move to invite that process. And then come down to your knees. All right, one more pose together before we rest. This is a deep one. This is called the frog pose. So deep, deep opener for the groin and the inner thighs. I'm going to show you how to do it from the side, but you are probably going to want to face the long edge of your mat so that your knees are padded. But I'm going to show this to you from the side. So, frog pose. You're going to begin on hands and knees and then start to bring your knees wider. And you're definitely going to want to pad up your knees. I'm not doing this in a way that's that nice to my body, but you need to see the alignment. So knees and ankles we want in line, hands on the ground. So you'll probably start to feel deep opening in the hips and groin here. So some things to watch out for. Don't do the twerky booty, okay? So don't tilt your tailbone up like this. You want a pretty neutral spine. And then if you feel comfortable here, you're going to lower down onto your bolster, or some of you may get all the way down, okay? And we're going to be in this guy for 4 minutes. Again, you might find as you hold the posture, you need less support. But here we go. This first minute is just all about arriving, assessing the situation. You know, our brain is going to switch into that fight or flight mode often when we're in a pose we haven't been in before. We're kind of checking out what's going on, a little bit vigilant. And our work in yin is to allow that vigilance to fall away as we live in the pose a little longer. So you've already been here a minute. Guide your awareness back to your breath, totally relaxed and released in the belly. Expansive belly breaths, calming the nervous system. And no pressure at all, but if you feel that you can take away some of the supports and sink a little deeper in, you may do that. Now, frog, at least for me, is one of these shapes that I get a little bit heady in, and I'm like, I cannot stay in this longer. If you need an exit strategy, it's called tadpole. You'll bring your big toes together like a child's pose and sit your hips back to your heels. It's like a very wide child's pose. But if you're okay to hang out for 1 more minute, let's see what's on the other side. The connective tissue in your body, my teacher described it as like Laffy Taffy. So it's the substance that's very stretchy, but you can't lengthen it too fast, right? It needs time to lengthen and pull. So you can think of that quality of this tissue that we're working with. Time and patience and gravity leads to the release. All right, my friends, you did it. That's 4 minutes in frog. Let's come out of this by bringing the big toes together, sinking hips back to heels, tadpole, and then eventually bring yourself back to a child's pose. If your forehead touches the mat, you might gently rock it a little bit side to side. And then slowly, you'll make your way to Shavasana, final resting posture. So if there's anything you need to make this more comfortable for you, maybe a pillow behind your head or under your knees, take what you need and come onto your back. Extend arms and legs long. And just feel the breath flowing through your system like water, from your toes all the way to the top of your head. Knowing you've cleared tension, stuck energy in your cell tissues to make space for your breath to flow with ease. If you have the time, I invite you to stay here in Shavasana for as long as feels good. But if you need to move on to the rest of your day, you're going to slowly wake up your body by moving your fingers and your toes, stretching your arms, and pulling your knees into your chest one at a time. And rolling onto one side and finding your way back to a comfortable seat. Bring your palms to prayer at your heart. And bow your chin to your chest. And a gesture of gratitude to your body for all it does for you day in, day out. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy with me in this practice. I'll see you on the mat again soon.